Hey, my name is Dave Stewart. I'm a high school teacher, and I wanted to talk to you about the start of my year to see if you can relate. Um, Going into this year, I knew it was going to be weird, difficult, challenging. Of course, it's fall 2020. I mean, everything has changed since the last school year ended, it feels like. So I knew it was going to be hard. But I remember it was probably 3 or 4 days into my school year when I came home and I was speaking to my wife, and I kind of realized, like, this has been an incredibly heavy week. I'm way more exhausted than I normally am in the first week of school, and I don't really see a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I'm dreading going back to work tomorrow because of how much stuff remains undone just to deal with tomorrow, and I have no clue really what to do the day after that. So I initially internalized this as something's wrong with me. I'm the one who doesn't fit. Other people have this figured out. They're doing much better. They came into this year much more prepared than me. And so I guess I'm going to be playing catch up and be like the straggler in the race this year. The first thing that started to help me is to talk with other colleagues, confess my difficulty, and realize most of them were struggling too. They also felt a workload that they couldn't grapple with. They felt an increase in pressure that made clear thinking really difficult. They felt like they were novices all over again, regardless of how many years of experience they have. And that began to help because I realized that my experience was really the normal one. The next thing that started to help, though, is that I started to hear that there were some people who weren't miserable, who were actually having an okay time. And I reached out to them and I said, hey, could I just ask you some questions? I asked them really basic things. How are you organizing your courses on our learning management system? Could you screencast yourself just talking me through how you're organizing? What are you doing for students in person? What are you doing when students are absent? Because we have a lot of absent students with all the COVID restrictions. Just these really basic questions that I started to ask, and I'd even sit in a couple of colleagues' classrooms during my prep and just watch what they were doing. And I found that to be really encouraging, and it started to give me breakthroughs. The last thing that really helped, and this was more of a inside of myself issue, is I began to intentionally say, last year is not this year. I stopped comparing my performance to last year, Dave, my pedagogy to normal circumstance pedagogy, and I started to instead just try to be really clear on what I have to do this year to do right by my students and myself and my family. And the question that really has been so cohering for me is just, how do I provide an education for students who are here in person and students who are absent, quarantining, isolating, whatever, in a way that does not require a ton of extra work? So how can I make this as similar and transferable and translatable as possible to this? How can I make the effort that goes into preparing and providing this the same effort that goes into this? And so I'm still working out the answers to that question day by day, still experimenting and learning, but just having that as the question instead of how do I replicate what I did last year into this year, like that replication question was terrible for me. That has really been helpful. So I'll end with this. I'm really curious, and I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share. Have you experienced this difficulty in the start of the year? If so, could you make a little video of yourself just explaining what that was like? And then 1 or 2 or 3 things that began to help? I think if you and I can create some videos like that, we can create a playlist, almost an encouragement playlist I'm picturing on YouTube of just real teachers in real circumstances, all different kinds of circumstances around the country and the world right now, who are finding a way through the woods. So if you're up for that, putting yourself out there, gosh, I would appreciate it. Just send me the video, okay? You can find me on Twitter or email. I'll put that in the description below.